go to rounds of questions.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm grateful for the opportunity today to respond to the Speaker's ruling to address the confusion surrounding the Kairos application. At the outset, first let me state that I take full responsibility for the confusion created, and I apologize for that. I'm here today to explain to this committee and to the public why initially I didn't understand how my answers were creating confusion. I told the Foreign Affairs Committee I did not know who specifically in my office had printed the word "not" on the Kairos departmental decision memo. I have also said that it was done at my direction. The confusion centers on how those two statements fit together, and I'm here today to address that single matter of confusion, and the Speaker has given this specific mandate to this committee. To fully explain this confusion, I believe we must answer three questions. Why did I reject the Kairos application? How was my decision communicated to CETA officials? And lastly, why didn't I elaborate further when I testified at the Foreign Affairs Committee why I did not know who specifically inserted the word "not"? Let me address the first question. Why did I reject the Kairos application? The Kairos application first came to me as a 19-page background document containing the CETA staff analysis of the proposal and commentary from CETA staff and Canadian ambassadors located in regions included in the proposal. CETA officials also prepared a separate 2-page decision memo for my signature. To be clear, these were internal documents from CETA officials to me as the minister. Before reaching a decision, I spoke to CETA officials and to my political staff. While both documents contained some positive aspects, they also contained aspects of concern to me. For example, over $880,000 was to be used for advocacy, training, media strategies, and campaign activities here in Canada. I believe this is not the best way to spend public funds intended to help those living in poverty in developing countries. We believe that CETA's role is to make sure that there's more food on the table for the hungry, more girls and boys in school, and more medicine in parts of the world that need it most. We receive hundreds of proposals annually, but we cannot fund them all. My responsibility as minister is to prioritize those that best meet the objectives of Canadians and deliver value for $8. So after careful consideration, I decided to reject the Kairos application. At no time did I speak to Minister Kenney, the Prime Minister, or any staff from their offices, nor did I receive any advice or direction from them. The decision was mine and mine alone. Now I will turn to the second question. How was my decision communicated to CETA officials? To fully answer this question, I think it's important to understand the process used at that time by CETA to seek a decision from the minister. First, an internal background document, like the one I referred to earlier, is sent to the minister. As well, a separate decision memo is sent containing a summary and a departmental recommendation and a line for the minister to sign. The practice is that officials ask my office to provide written responses to proposal recommendations, making clear my decision. When decision memos come to me, they have already been signed by the president of CETA and another CETA official. In the Kairos instance, I spoke to both my staff and CETA personnel over the course of 2 months before arriving at and then communicating my decision. In this case, I explained my concerns and sought further information from CETA, and they knew I was not likely to approve the application. These facts are not in dispute by my staff or by CETA officials. After due deliberation, when I felt I had enough information about the proposal, I telephoned my Chief of Staff and informed her that I had decided to reject the application. I then gave her direction to follow through on my decision with the department. As International Cooperation Minister, whether I'm traveling or in Ottawa, I have a duty and responsibility to oversee CETA. Every decision I make has to be communicated back to CETA officials, and often upon my direction, I must rely on my staff to follow through on my decisions. I would speak to one of my political staff, who then communicates my decisions to CETA via the decision memo drafted by CETA officials. To give you an idea of scope, last year I dealt with over 750 memos. In December, when I appeared before committee on this issue, I did not know who specifically in my office inserted the word "not" or who operated the auto pen. Subsequently, after that committee, my former Chief of Staff, Stephanie Mackle, told me she inserted the word "not" following the normal practice at that time. She then instructed one of two authorized departmental officials in my office to use the auto pen, in this case Claudette Rioux, to mechanically sign the document. Having a paper record of decisions is critical, and it's not always possible for me to personally sign a decision memo. As a result, my office uses an auto pen to mechanically reproduce my signature when I am unable to personally sign a document. This is a device employed by ministers across government, and it's my understanding that previous governments have used the same process. When I made the CETA decision memos didn't provide an option whereby I could disagree with CETA recommendations. Decision memos simply presented the recommendation of CETA officials and offered a signature line. To overcome the absence of a disagree option, if I made a decision to disagree, my staff would insert the words "not" or "do not" in the recommendation line. However, to an outside observer, not knowing the process followed, it may appear that someone who had earlier signed the document might be unaware that the word "not" was inserted. That is not the case because, in fact, the same signed decision memo is returned to the very same officials that had initially signed the memo. There has never been confusion regarding this practice. These decision memos are intended for internal use only, and CETA officials did not raise any concerns about how my decision was communicated to them. Also, as is common practice in government, a ministerial decision is thereafter publicly referred to as the decision of the government or the relevant department or agency. I have apologized for the confusion and know now that I should have provided a fuller explanation of this process. This then brings us to the third question. Why didn't I elaborate further when I testified at Foreign Affairs Committee that I did not know who specifically inserted the word "not"? Put another way, why did I answer the precise question asked, instead of providing the information that the committee was trying to ascertain? When I told the committee that I didn't know who had printed the word "not" on the Kairos application, I did not know who specifically in my office had printed the word "not" and had signed the document. In hindsight, I wish I had been clearer in my answer by explaining the process I've described today and offered to give the names once I had the information. My answer made sense to me then because I knew the usual process undertaken. There was no intention to mislead the committee members. I now realize that from someone else's perspective, it was confusing, as the Speaker has said. People listening to my answers might have thought that I signed the document and then, after that, someone added the word "not." That didn't occur to me because I knew that wasn't what could have happened. At the time, I did not see the confusion that my answers would cause, and I apologize for creating the confusion. In conclusion, Mr. Chair, my original answers were truthful, accurate, and precise, but were not clear. I'm here today to rectify any remaining confusion. I have a great respect for Parliament and the members that I serve with, including the Speaker, and I have faith in parliamentary procedures. Mr. Chair, I never have, nor would I ever, jeopardize my reputation nor my integrity. I have served my constituents and my country honorably with that same integrity, and at no time would I ever intend to mislead anyone. Thank you, and I look forward to the questions.
Thank you.